Hi everyone, Holly Jacobs here. We're starting a new feature on all my social media this next year called Cooks and Books. I thought we'd start with something very holiday-ish, something that sounds a little harder than it actually is, just a hard candy recipe. My husband brought it home from work about 2 decades ago from one of his co-workers' wives. Thanks, Mrs. Kisco. And we've made it every year since. You can use all kinds of flavors. Our favorite happens to be cinnamon, so that's what we're going to make today. And please note, wore the buffalo plaid shirt for y'all since we've been talking about that lately on social media. It's a small addiction. Yes, I know. Here's the original recipe. As you can tell, I've used it for many years. There's not many ingredients. It's a cup of sugar, a third of a cup of light Karo syrup, quarter cup of water, food coloring, and cinnamon flavoring for when it's all done. You can pick that up, any kind of flavor actually, at your local pharmacy. I've got powdered sugar on wax paper for after I'm done cooking the candy. I've got a cookie sheet sprayed with pan and scissors. I also have a tiny little cup of cold water that will test the candy in. Let me add all the ingredients and we'll go from there. Here we go. I put a cup of sugar, a quarter cup of water, and a third of a cup of light Karo syrup into a pan. And we're going to stir it and bring it to a boil. And right now it doesn't look like much, but there it is. Oh, and while we're doing this, my friend Susan Gable suggested I have some product placement. Yes, that's my new book, These Three Words, out now, available anywhere you buy books, really. Audiobook, ebook just for Kindle, and paperback. Okay, so we're back to the candy. And once it comes to a boil, is the most difficult part. Turn it down so it's a slow boil and let it go for 15 minutes. Don't touch it, don't stir it, don't do anything with it. Oh, we're gonna get a little spoon rest here to put the spoon on. Okay, here it is at a nice little boil. I'm gonna adjust the flame so that it's slower and just barely bubbly at the ends. All right, I'm gonna set the timer and we'll be back in 15 minutes. Okay, after 15 minutes, you really haven't had to touch it or do anything to it. This is what it will look like. And we're gonna test it. I don't know if I can test this one hand. Let's try it. I'm gonna set the water down right there. Take my spoon, and I'm gonna look at it first. You see how it's a little bit stringy at the end? I don't know, I don't think this is gonna be quite done. We might turn it back on for another minute. So you drop it in the cold water. And when you touch it, see, it still feels a little soft. It's not quite done, so I'm going to turn it back on for a few minutes and I'll come back. Okay, I went another couple minutes and we're still nice and bubbly. And it seems to be a little stringier, so let's see what happens now. Oh, can you hear that pop? I don't know if you can hear it over the microphone. That means we've got hard candy. So, we turn off the heat, remove the water away. And now comes the kids' favorite part. We're going to add a couple drops of food coloring. And then, okay, so now we add the cinnamon and stir like heck. And while I can't figure out how to get this smell on the internet, it definitely smells cinnamony. The nice thing about making the candy, if you do it right before a party or something, your house will smell like cinnamon for the rest of the night. Okay, so once the color is all in and the cinnamon is well incorporated, hang on, we're going to turn it around again. And there you go, it's in the pan. I'm going to dump it onto the cookie sheet. All right, and there we are on the cookie sheet, steaming. You want it to start to cool just a little bit so you can handle it without burning your hands off, and yet not cool so much that it's crackling. Cleanup looks like it would be hard, but actually I'm running just some hot water into the pan. I'll let it soak while I cut the candy, and by the time I'm done, it'll clean up real easy. All right, we're gonna try cutting this. Right and back. Got my scissors. I pry up the end just a little bit, maybe. Oh, it's still pretty hot. and start cutting, and I just drop the pieces into the powdered sugar. And I'm not overly concerned about their shapes. And there you go. When I turned it off, I tried one and it was nice and hard and crunchy. I will confess, most years when I make it the first batch, I get a little anxious. I pull it too soon and we end up with really sticky candy. So the trick is, make sure you hear that little crunch when you drop it into the water. You'll be much happier with the product. It won't stick to your teeth. This is pretty hot. The other thing I wanted to mention is Mrs. Kisco called for a teaspoon of any of the hotter spices, cinnamon, anise, anything like that. I use the entire container because we like it hotter. If you're making a fruit flavored, like the orange or the cherry, you can use an entire container and not have it be a problem. And I think that's it. Okay, so once again, Holly Jacobs here. This was our first Books and Cooks. I don't know, we'll work it out. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you try the candy. If you do and it turns out, let me know. If you do and it doesn't turn out, I'm sorry. Don't forget, if you look behind me, there's my book. The new one, These 3 Words. It's on the shelves now. I hope you'll give it a try. And Merry Christmas.